When Dr. Cecil Alport died in London on April 17, 1959, colleagues wrote in his obituary that he was a downright and forceful character that will be remembered for his service as a doctor in Cairo. Neither he nor his colleagues knew it at the time, but his observance of a family with 3 children that were deaf, had blood and protein in their urine, and high blood pressure would immortalize Dr. Alport far beyond what his character and service could. Today, I'm going to be talking about Alport Syndrome. Named after Dr. Alport, Alport syndrome is a hereditary disease which impacts the filtration of the kidneys, caused by mutation in either of the COL4-alpha-3, COL4-alpha-4, or COL4-alpha-5 genes, all of which impact the production of the protein type 4 collagen. Alport syndrome has varying levels of severity, ranging from no pain at all to kidney failure and deafness. Here's how it happens. We all know that the body filters blood through the kidneys, which separate waste from nutrients. Within the kidney, there's a part of the kidney called a nephron. The nephron essentially works as the filtering unit of the kidney. The glomerulus, which is a small ball of blood capillaries, is the actual filter within the nephron filtering unit. The glomerular filtration barrier, which has thin semi-permeable walls, filters the blood pumped through it by allowing certain small molecules, like waste products, to pass through, but not large and important molecules like blood cells and proteins. The glomerular basement membrane, which covers the glomerular filtration barrier, is made of trimers, which are just 3 type 4 collagen chains put together. They support the glomerular filtration barrier and help it maintain its semi-permeability. When a mutation occurs in any of the COL4-alpha-3, COL4-alpha-4, or COL4-alpha-5 genes, it causes abnormalities in the type 4 collagen the gene produces. These abnormalities can impact the folding of the trimers that form, which make up the glomerular basement membrane. The misfolding of these trimers weaken the structural integrity of the glomerular basement membrane, which in turn impacts the semi-permeability of the filtration barrier. If the structural integrity of the glomerular basement membrane is weak, then larger molecules will be able to pass through. This is why people who have Alport syndrome frequently have hematuria and proteinuria, or blood and proteins in the urine respectively, as the weak glomerular basement allows these particles to pass. In severe cases of Alport syndrome, the kidneys fail due to the gradual weakening of the basement membrane from the constant production of abnormal type 4 collagen. When it comes to patterns of inheritance, there are 3 main genetic types of Alport syndrome. First is X-linked Alport syndrome, then autosomal recessive Alport syndrome, and finally, autosomal dominant Alport syndrome. X-linked Alport syndrome is the most common form of Alport syndrome. Caused by mutations to the COL4-alpha-5 gene, X-linked Alport syndrome is linked to the X chromosome. This is why X-linked Alport syndrome affects men more severely, as they have 2 X chromosomes that are incorrectly encoding for type 4 collagen. X-linked Alport syndrome represents around 80% of all Alport syndrome cases. Autosomal recessive Alport syndrome is the second most common form of Alport syndrome. Caused by mutations in both the COL4-alpha-3 and COL4-alpha-4 genes, the parents of people with autosomal recessive Alport syndrome must each have a copy of either mutated gene, as it is recessive. Autosomal recessive Alport syndrome makes up around 15% of Alport syndrome cases. Autosomal dominant Alport syndrome is the least common form of Alport syndrome. People with autosomal dominant Alport syndrome have a mutation in either the COL4-alpha-3 or COL4-alpha-4 genes. They only make up around 5% of the Alport syndrome cases, and little is known about them as they aren't frequently reported. Finally, when it comes to the symptoms, I made a nice little mnemonic to help you guys remember as many as you can. So, after 4 years, you go to college, and college causes stress. Things like batting practice in university, kids, and dances. Now let me explain. College after 4 reminds me of collagen 4, which is the protein that suffers from the mutation and causes everything in Alport syndrome. Next, college causes stress. Stress starts with an S, reminds me of symptoms. Things like batting practice in uni, BP in uni reminds me of blood and protein in urine. And then the worst things to have in college, kids and dances. Kids reminds me of kidney failure, which is really bad. And dances reminds me of deafness, because dances are really loud, and deafness also starts with D. Now, some of you may be wondering how deafness is a symptom of Alport syndrome. Well, actually, because collagen 4 is an important component in the auditory nerve system, people with Alport syndrome who have defections in their collagen 4 also suffer abnormal ear function because of these wacky collagen 4s that their genes are creating. But I've also put up some additional statistics if you guys want to pause and look. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation, and good luck to the rest of you.